General there explaining his reasons for striking out cases that have been running for 8 years in a previous administration. Will cross over to the August House, where the minority is holding a press conference to also share their views and their opinion and stance on what they describe as abuse of office by the invasion of the former finance minister's residence, Ofori Atta, in the person, and also describing him as a fugitive by the special prosecutor.
Ofori Atta was out of the country seeking medical attention, having informed both the former and current chief of staff about his whereabouts. Yet they proceeded with this reckless display of power, exposing their deep-seated desire to harass and humiliate political opponents under the guise of security operations. Video footage from Mr. Ofori Atta's residence shows one Richard Japa, a known NDC activist, recently tried in the ambulance purchase scandal, leading the raid conducted without a warrant or in accordance with the law. The reckless abuse of power executed under full military backing signal a disturbing shift towards authoritarian governance, where brute force is now replacing the process and replacing due process, and political witch hunts are being disguised as security operations. It is nothing short of a state-orchestrated assault on individual freedoms and an alarming escalation in the abuse of powers. Similarly, on Monday, 3rd February 2025, the residence of Lord Comey, former Director of Operations at the Jubilee House, was raided with his vehicle unlawfully seized. Former Minister of Defense, Honorable Dominic Nitiwo, was also targeted as security operatives chased him down and forcibly took possession of his vehicle while it was at a workshop. For such incidents to occur under a government that once vehemently condemned the use of military force in political matters or for political ends is not only the height of hypocrisy, but also a shameful betrayal of democratic principles. The very leaders who cried foul over what they claim to be military intimidation while in opposition are now wielding state power in an even more reckless and tyrannical manner. This is not governance. It is a hostile takeover, reminiscent of regimes that thrive on suppression, intimidation, and fear. Today, February 12, yesterday, February 12, 2025, the OSP, subsequent to the raid, has also, without recourse to law and due process, announced at a press conference that he considers Mr. Ofori Atta a suspect and a fugitive. This is shocking, when no charges have even been proffered against the former finance minister. Another matter that demands the attention of the public is the glaring bias and selective justice being exhibited by state security agencies in the administration of their duties. The National Intelligence Bureau, the NIB, on Monday, 10th February 2025, wasted no time in summoning the Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Frank Anodombre, for questioning over comments he made concerning the disputed Ablekuma North parliamentary elections results. His words urging MPP supporters to protect their own were swiftly deemed insightful and required interrogation at the highest level of the security apparatus. Yet, when Mustafa Bande, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and Deputy Director of Operations in the Presidency, openly declared on live television on Friday, 7th February 2025, that the NDC would sacrifice the minority leader, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the NIB found no cause for alarm and did not summon him for questioning. Neither did they demand an explanation for such utterances. The NIB did not also find it necessary to investigate what was an explicit and direct threat to the life of Honorable Afenyo-Markin and a deliberate attempt to incite violence against him. Mr. Bande's comments were dangerous and a criminal incitement to harm the minority leader. It was a direct attack on his safety and an assault on the very principles of democracy and the rule of law. This glaring double standard exposes the dangerous path this country is heading down. One where justice is no longer blind but selectively wielded against political opponents. If the NIB is truly committed to upholding law and order, it must explain why the minority chief was swiftly summoned for interrogation over his comments, while the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency, who openly threatened the minority leader's life, was allowed to walk free without consequences. This double standard raises serious concerns about the selective application of justice and the use of state institutions to police certain political figures while others are allowed to act with impunity. If public remarks are to be scrutinized, all individuals, regardless of political affiliation, must be held to the same standard. The silence over Bande's threats, while Honorable Arnaud Dampre is subjected to interrogation, suggests a politicization of security agencies and a dangerous precedent where loyalty rather than the rule of law dictates accountability. We will not remain silent while political persecution takes root in Ghana. This country belongs to all of us, and no administration has the right to weaponize state institutions against its political opponents. We demand an immediate, transparent, and independent investigation into these politically motivated attacks and insist that those responsible be held accountable. The harassment of former government officials must cease immediately, and due process must be followed in all legal matters. The use of security forces for political vendettas points to a dangerous descent into lawlessness, one where due process is cast aside and state institutions are weaponized or harass or silence perceived opponents. This undermines our institutions and erodes public confidence in governance. As such, the government must demonstrate political maturity and tolerance by fostering an environment where opposition voices are respected rather than suppressed through intimidation and coercion. No democracy can survive when its institutions become weapons for political vengeance.